Hello everybody and welcome back to APPF1 Tier 2. I was caught blindsided by the lobby starting so early, but we're here now. Welcome everyone into the race. We're here for round number 2 in Imola, and Scott is going to take us for a lap around this classic circuit. Hello to Frank in the chat. I think that's Van. It's good to see you in the chat as Scott takes us through turns 1, 2 and 3 and then down towards 4. Tricky set of corners this, 4 and 5. Very conservative, especially through 5 from Scott in the Aston Martin. We nearly got pole last week in Italy, but just about missed out to Sumo in the end. Now into the middle sector, past the hairpin and another very tricky corner. You've got to be so careful with track limits. Gary sets us off with the 1:15.0 as Scott takes us through Acqua Minerale. The Haas duly gets out of the way. Nicely done from whoever that was. As Scott now comes to these chicanes so hard. You've got to absolutely send it through this chicane, but you really risk invalidating or losing the rear on the exit if you do, but you lose so much time if you take it too cautiously. Now, the last couple of corners for Scott. Nicely done through there, hitting the apex, maybe a little bit wide as well at the final corner too. And Scott takes us across the line for a 1:15.1. Gary's time stands atop the rest for now. Hello to Rick in the chat. I'm excited too. Tricky Vidayak, our third place finisher from last week, is P4, but a long way back from Gary. Enchilada a long way back as well. The defending champion. What Sumo got in his locker. He's coming through Sector 1 right now. He was on pole and took the race win in the season opener last week in Monza. Let's see what he can do in this other Italian track. It's a massive snap of oversteer through the hairpin for Sumo, the championship leader, as he heads through the middle sector. That'll have cost him a bunch of time, and very cautious through the next corner as well. It clearly rattled a little bit by that mistake. An Avenir supporter in the chat is great to see. Sumo now heads us through the last part of the lap. Where's Jack Alaco as well? He loves this circuit, absolutely adores this circuit. He won last time we came here in Tier 2. It was a crazy race. He ended up winning. What can he do in qualifying today? A 15.7, only P4. A long way off though, as Sumo now comes to the final corner. Is he going to be any closer to that time from Gary, which is looking better and better as more people come across the line? 15.4 from Sumo. He's only P4. Scott and Gary look a long way ahead right now, but we've got two-time champion X-Trek on the warpath as well. Don't forget about him. He comes through the middle sector. Finished P2 last week after a big incident where Aces lost the car right in front of him, and he had nowhere to go, but he still recovered to second place. See what he can do today. Through Acqua Minerale he goes. He's a very strong driver, as we know, with or without the racing line, as he comes through the chicane. 2 corners to go for X-Trek. That looked absolutely perfect at the chicane from the Norwegian. I think Gary's time is going to be very vulnerable here as X-Trek comes to the penultimate corner, breaks down the gears, hits the apex nicely, gets on the power. Final corner for X-Trek, and all the way down towards the line. What can X-Trek do? It's looking very good, but it's not good enough. It's only a 15.5. He's only 5th place, and Gary retains that initial provisional pole position for now. Kurt has had to abandon his lap, so I don't know why he's continuing to go out on track, to be honest. I have no idea why he hasn't come into the pits. But anyway, Aces has invalidated his effort. We've also got a newbie on track today, Rafael Fisioterapia, on the circuit. I hope I've pronounced that decently, from Brazil. So rooting for him on his debut. He's got an absolutely lovely helmet, by the way. Oh my goodness me, that is gorgeous. What a helmet. We haven't done helmet review in a while, but that is a 10 out of 10 if I've ever seen one personally. That is an excellent helmet for our newbie today. Wonderful. Absolutely love that. He's going on the grass to let someone through. Meanwhile, I think he may have been blocked by that V-carb just ahead of him. I think that was Kurt. So that might be a report coming later. It's a shame to have a newbie's lap blocked, if that is indeed what happened. Robsu into P8, meanwhile, just 300ths or 200ths behind the current defending champion Enchiladadad, who won last season by just 1 point over the defending two-time champion at the time, Xdrag. After a very dramatic finale in Zandvoort. But he had a horrible start to the season. He was completely off the pace in Monza. He had an incident and he had damage, but he was so far off the pace that it certainly wasn't the damage that told the whole story. So the Irishman and defending champ needs to bounce back today, and at the moment he is not doing that. JB goes to P10 as well. He had a bad outing in Monza too. An early crash for him, but he was way down in quali as well, and in race pace. That's a very nice helmet on JB as well, by the way. But he's all the way down in 10th place, so he's not enjoying this circuit either. Rick reckons Xtrek Robsu Sumo will be the final podium as Denko comes to the line for 9th place in his Mercedes. Cavalis, current Constructors' Championship leaders as well, the Williams pair, after their fantastic outing in Monza. Ace has left the session. Hopefully he can get himself back in as Cavalis comes to the last couple of corners. Lithuanian driver was very impressive in Monza, but that is an invalidation at the penultimate corner, sadly for him. So he is going to have to try again, head into the pits. Ivory Coast flag near the end of the circuit. Is there? Is there? I'll have to watch out for that. We'll run and Borbatier, see if we can see it. As he has a massive snap of oversteer through the chicane. That is what can happen at that chicane. It's so easy to do. And Tier finding that out there as he comes to the last couple of corners. Can we spot this Ivory Coast flag that Frank's on about in the chat? Where is it? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it, Frank. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I don't know where it is. But maybe you can direct me a bit more. But Tier's going to go again, despite having no ERS left in the tank, which is surprising, and invalidates immediately turn 2. So not much point in that. After all, it's not in cam view. Okay, I'll try and keep an eye out, Frank. Lap in the meantime, though, Gary's still in the pits, so Scott, big opportunity to take provisional pole here. Lawrence is up in 3rd place as well, by the way, and improving in the middle sector. The two-time Tier 2 champ, he had his struggles last season as he's been adapting to his new wheel after being on controller for so many years. But it looks like this circuit is working out for Lawrence. He's heading through the chicane now. He's currently qualifying above Sumo, by the way. As he comes to the last few corners. We've got Sumo up ahead though. I don't know if he's improving, but through the final corner he goes. He's going to the line, so it looks like a decent lap for him. It's good enough for pole. A 14.7 from Sumo. Can Lawrence get anywhere near that? It's an improvement from the two-time champ, but he remains in 4th place. And Scott also improving, but that lap from Sumo is going to take some beating. Outrageous lap time from the championship leader. Here comes Scott through the final corner now and into the pits though. No improvement this time for the British driver and the Season 3 APP Sprint champion. So he is going to have to wait for another opportunity. 6.5 minutes to go in the session. Enchiladadad also improving. The defending champion goes to pole position out of absolutely nowhere. A huge lap, a 1 second improvement from the Irishman. That is more like it from our champion. He goes to pole position by 5 thousandths of a second from Sumo Gilligan. And he is well and truly back after the disastrous outing in Monza. Who else on the lap right now? Alex G coming to the end of his, but Kurt also to the end of his first run. Avenir narrowly avoids invalidating there in his Sauber. We've also got Cavalis coming through, but Kurt's going to be first across the line of these guys. Comes to the final corner. This will be his 3rd race in APPF1. He will get a spot on the rankings after this race, and he goes to P11 for now. as we've got behind him Alex G from Ukraine. No improvement from Alex. He's going to go again on the same set of tyres. Why has he done 7 laps on those tyres? Hello? Alex? Alex, are you okay? What is he doing? What is he doing on these soft tyres? I do not know. He's got grass all over his car. But anyway, Avenir goes to P15 in his Sauber. Cavalis coming to the last couple of corners as well in his Williams, currently yet to set a time along with Aces, who's on an outlap of his own. But here comes Cavalis through the final corner up to the line. It's a 15.4 from the Williams driver from Lithuania, and he goes to P6. Not bad going at all. We've got Robsu now next across the line, the Finnish driver who's been a struggler in qualifying for the last few seasons, pretty much all year really. As he comes to the line now, it's a slight improvement. It is P8. He's ahead of last time's Imola winner, Jack Alacco. And he's not too far off the pace of the rest of the midfield runners. It's just that those top runners are so far ahead at the moment. JB, much better from him. He goes to P6 as well. We've got the Haas of, I think that's Alex coming into the pits. Tears on an outlap, so it's going to be Triku next across the line, and he is improving. The Czech driver 3.5 tenths up through the middle sector as he heads through the last couple of corners now. Nicely done from Triku. Down to the line using all the ERS he's got left. It's a big, big improvement from Triku up to the second row. Just narrowly behind Gary for now, who is not improving on his previous best. Denko, big improvement for him. He goes to 7th place ahead of his teammate, by the way. You don't see that very often in these last couple of seasons. So big lap from Denko. Who else is coming through? Tia in the middle sector right now. We've got BNI Cleo coming through as well, but he's not improving. Aces, here we go. First lap on the board for the British driver. Comes through the final corner. So unlucky last week in Monza. Can he do better elsewhere in Italy? A 15.3. He goes to 9th place. I don't think he'll be too enthralled by that, especially with only 3 minutes to go in this session. Scott, meanwhile, starting his next run, which could well be his final run. He will have another opportunity to go again at the end of this one in the same set of tyres, but you have to think that would probably be it for his session. I don't think he's got time to come in the pits for fresh tyres. We've got Tia improving to the top 10, pushes Cavalis down to 11th for now, and then it's Avenir Sinner Roy coming through the last couple of corners, but he is not going quickly at the moment. He is going to be heading into the pits. He's got just about enough time to go out again, but it's going to be very close. Unfortunately, Cleo invalidates his next run and loses the rear massively at the final corner too. Just about gets away with it. Rafa also into the grass on debut. What on earth was that? Was he not paying attention? I think that is probably bang on the money. Not paying attention to the track, maybe looking somewhere else and realises he's on the grass and spins it. Not a good way to start out your career in a new league, but hopefully he can have a better race. Scott has invalidated meanwhile, so he's going to have to go again on that same set of tyres. He's not nowhere near enough time to come into the pits and go out again. So plenty of drivers still in the pits though, with only 2 minutes to go. Here, that some are coming out the pit lane now, but they're going to be quite bunched up here, which is not going to be ideal for them. Kurt coming through down towards turn 1 in the meantime. Oh, very nicely done through turn 1 from Kurt, right across the corner. Perfect line through there. He'll be very happy with that, probably improving by quite a bit. Oh, not anymore, he's not. That green delta puts a lot of pressure on, and I reckon that would have been pretty green after that first corner. So yeah, Kurt just wilting there in the middle sector, so he's going to have to try again as well. Sumo Gilligan starting his final run, as is Scott. He's in sector 2 at the moment, barely down on his previous best, but only 9 thousandths of a second is the gap. He comes through Aqua Minerale now. Nicely done through there as well from Scott. A little snap on the exit, but nothing to write home about as he comes to the chicane. There's traffic ahead. Hopefully they get out of his way in time. He's a little bit lost to the rear as he went through the chicane. There's a V-carb just ahead. Is it going to get out of the way? Just about, as Scott comes to the last couple of corners. Hello to RJ in the chat. Wonderful to see you, mate. Former Tier 2 ace. Taking a break from league racing for a while as Scott comes to the final corner and to the line. It's no improvement from Scott. That's a surprise. Enchilada Dad going for his final run as well. Sumo is not improving through the middle sector. So Enchilada at the moment looking in prime position for pole. Scott's got a 5-place grid penalty somehow for a collision with Kurt. I've no idea how that's happened, but I know Scott and Kurt are mates. So there might be a little bit of drama going on there as Aces abandons his attempt. No improvement for him. Lawrence invalidates, so nothing for him either. Denko starting his final run, as well as Extrek, who comes to the line and improves to P8, but only P8. It's just ahead of his teammate, but Denko has an opportunity here to out-qualify his two-time champion teammate in the Mercedes. What can Sumo do? No improvement for him. He's going again on the same set of tyres, but no, he's not using ERS. That's him done. Is Ench improving? Not really. Not quite as he heads to the final sector, but he still might find a bit more time here. He's not that far behind. As he comes to the last couple of corners now, there's an Alpine just ahead. I think that is Lawrence coming through the final corner, but I'm not sure which one it is. Down goes the Alpine. It was Lawrence. No improvement. Enchilada improves again. A 14.6 from the defending champion. That is surely pole position unless Jack Alaco has anything to say about it. We know how much he loves this track. Round the final corner for Jacko. No, it's only 10th place for the Scottish driver. Is Denko improving? No, he's invalidated. What about Cavalis through the final corner? Can he spring a surprise in his Williams like he did last week? Yes, he can. P5 for Cavalis. Another huge qualifying result for the Williams boys, as Ace is not improving in his car either. Denko through the final corner, nothing for him. Robsu's in the grass. That is it for qualifying, and after an absolute horror show last week in Monza, Enchilada Dad is going to take an emphatic pole position ahead of the championship leader here in Imola. Gary's time stood the test of time, I'll tell you that. He was P1 with his first lap of the session, never improved it, but he only dropped to P3, so that was one heck of a banker from the Kick Sauber driver. But Triku and Cavalis in the top 5 as well. Scott misses out, he'll be disappointed. He will probably feel he had a shot at pole today, but it's Enchilada who gets it. Lawrence is devastated with P8, which I think shows you just how much progress he has made. Because he would have been absolutely delighted with P8 even 5 weeks ago, to be honest. Is saying that in the chat. So Lawrence, a lot of potential in this race though, as look how close that grid is from first down to quali, but JB down in 12th as well, Jacko in 11th. The grid is so close. We're getting so many shock qualifying performances, or well, lack thereof, from drivers we expect to be right up there so far this season. We'll see how the race pans out. So it's Enchilada Dad on pole position with Sumo alongside him on the front row. Gary and Trikubidayak on the second row, and it's Cavalis and Scott, but Scott will drop to P11 with his 5-place grid penalty. Aces, Lawrence, Extrek and Denko make up the rest of the top 10, with Jack Alaco down in 11th, JB down in 12th, Tia down in 13th, and it's Alex G, Robsu, Kurt, Avenir, Raphael and BNI Cleo making up the rest of the grid. But it's so close between the vast majority of drivers, and we are in for one heck of a race. Barnstorm, says Rick in the chat, absolutely. But we are about to get going. The sky is overcast, I will say. It's dry for now, but it's looking quite grey in the sky. I wonder if we'll get a few drops later in this Grand Prix, but for now, we'll have to see how they go on the start. Everyone selecting their tyres and fuel and just messing around with their tyre pressures maybe adding a click on the front wing, who knows. Just final adjustments before this thrilling race begins. Here we go then, 2, 3, 4, 5, red lights. And we're underway for the Imola Grand Prix. It's a great start from Enchilada from pole position. X-Strike making up position as well as Aces versus Kings getting through on Cavalis. Cavalis losing 2 positions there in the start as they head down towards turn 1. Keep it clean, everyone, as they all file through. It's brilliantly done from tier 2 today. Love to see that as they all head through turn 2. Enchilada leads though from Sumo, from Gary. The top 4 in order, but after that it's changed quite a bit. It's Aces now under pressure from the two-time champion X-Trek, who sweeps around the outside of the hairpin and gets that move done. Lovely stuff from X-Trek as Ace is now under pressure from Cavalis as well, who's on the outside line, but he's always going to get forced off there. That gap was never going to stay where it was. X-Trek up 3 positions off the start. Beautiful start from the two-time champ, as Kurt making up 2 positions as well as Robsu. JB down 3 already. Disastrous start for the McLaren driver as Robsu looks to the inside of Tier. Wrong McLaren, as they headed to the chicane. The 2 Red Bulls fighting in the background as well. Is that one of them with damage there? I think it may have been. I think it might have been Raphael on debut having damage to his front wing. No, it wasn't. No damage at all. He makes a lovely move, by the way, down the inside of his teammate for today on that corner as X-Track looks to make another move. He uses that overtake button and flies down the inside of the Williams of Triku Badayak. X-Track up into 4th place as Triku going to have to settle for 5th, but what a brilliant start for the Norwegian, up into 4th place. Sumo will be gutted to see him this far up already. Let's have a quick look at tyres. Most starting on the mediums, Aces on the hards though, as well as Tia, Alex and Rafael Physiotherapia on debut. Cavalis having a look on the inside of Aces, but doesn't make that move stick. Going to have to back out of that one. There's a little bit of oversteer as well on the exit of that right hand, and we can calm down a bit because Enchilada has already built up a 1.4 second lead. Alex G has spun in the background further back. Hello to Harris in the chat as well. Great to see you down there in the chat. Enchilada though, 1.3 seconds, 1.4 seconds is his lead over Sumo. He is checking out in this race at the moment. And last week's race winner and championship leader Sumo is now going to be under heavy pressure from Gary just behind him. And then X-Trek won't be far behind. Enchilada in front by 1.6. Here comes Gary to the inside of Sumo. It's going to be a simple move for the Sauber driver as he gets into P2. Denko getting past Cavalis and Jacko making the move on the Williams as well. It's been a horrible first few laps for the Lithuanian. I think he's got major front wing damage. Yeah, he does indeed. No front right end plate for Cavalis, so he'll be gutted with that, because this race could have been a whole lot more for him. Scott's going to have to be careful just behind. He's had a horrible start as well in his Aston Martin as Robsu and Tia go wheel to wheel once again. Here goes Robsu on the outside of the hairpin. What a beautiful move from the Finnish driver. He loves a good overtake, does Robsu, and proves it once again there as up ahead. Scott desperately trying to get past the damaged Williams. He can't quite find a way through on the run to Acca Minerale. He's going to have to find somewhere better, but he's running out of better places as here comes Robsu now on the Aston Martin driver. Scott saving some ERS there as they head through the chicane, but we cut back to the front because Sumo now is under heavy pressure from X-Track. He just seems to have no race pace in that Haas at the moment. He is going to have DRS from Gary, but Enchilada will be very comfortable with how this race has started so far. As Gary now under pressure from Sumo. Look at the overspeed from the Haas as they head down towards turn 1. He finds the outside line. Gary lets him go. And Sumo is up into P2. We've got a spinner. That is BNI Cleo at the back as the two Alpine swap positions. Ace is under pressure from Denko as well, who clatters over the curb. Jacko tries to follow. Ace is through and does so. Lovely move in the background. Meanwhile, Scott and Robsu are side by side. And they go just about... nose to tail through the next corner, but Scott wins out that one. But Robsu is definitely in the mood for an overtake today. He looks to the inside of Scott again up the hill, but he has to back about that one. We do love mineral water. Hello to Daka in the chat, my fellow PSGL F3 commentator. But Lawrence, meanwhile, doing very well. It is a 2-second gap to the top 5. Hello to Waft Cake in the chat as well. Lovely to see you too. As we've got assembling all of the Avengers of the Ghostlight channel in the chat at the moment, which is great to see. Enchilada that though, 1.7 ahead of Sumo, 1.8 now. Sumo really struggling with that final sector compared to the race leader, as Gary's now going to easily get past Sumo. I wonder if Extract's going to look to follow through as well. Triku is sticking with them for now too, as the two Alpines swap further back, but Gary up to P2, Extract still sticking behind for now, as Jackalacco getting past Lawrence as well into P7 for him. We know he loves this track, and his qualifying wasn't what we expected it to be, so he's got a lot to prove here. But a big moment there on the exit of that right-hander, but he just about keeps it together. Ace has had a moment just ahead of him as well on those hard tyres. 2-second gap to the top 5, and it's 2-second gap to Enchilada now as well, as he is checking out well and truly in this race. Potential for a safety car, of course. 19 car grid, and you know, Tier 2 no stranger to the odd incident every now and then. Tier and Scott both getting a penalty at the same time. You'll see plenty of those as well today. Track limits penalties are going to be a huge factor today, because they're really easy to get around here this year. The game struggles really with the white lines on this circuit. Seems to give them out very loosely, I would say. So keep an eye out for track limits penalties. There will be plenty of them, as Sumo finds the outside line on Gary, makes that overtake. Extrek follows in behind and hits the back of the Sauber and takes damage to his wing. No front right end plate on the two-time champion, but he looks to the inside anyway with the damage. He gets it done. Gary leaves him so much room and compromises his line on the exit of the next corner. Triku looks to find a gap as well, as Jackalacco was caught right up to this train. I don't know how this has happened. They were 2 seconds behind the last time I looked. But here comes Triku now, round the outside of Gary up the hill. It's a lovely move from Triku. He's up to 4th place, and he's just got to work hard to stay within that DRS range of Extrek now. In this last sector, 9.5 tenths, 1 second. It's going to be really tough for Triku to stay there. Extrek not sending it through the chicane, but Triku getting a poor line on the exit. I think that's going to cost him DRS. He's using everything he's got in the battery. It's going to be very close across the detection line. I've no idea whether he has it or not. The game will show us in a second as they head over the DRS line. Gary's definitely going to have it. But what about Triku? Watch that rear wing. Does it open? Yes, it does. He just about gets it. So a massive moment for Triku there to keep that DRS. That could have been very bad for him indeed, as Jackalacco is the next to make a move on the Sauber driver who started this race in 3rd place. A track limits penalty for good measure as well on lap 7, but as you can see from the tower on the left hand side, there's plenty of them on circuit already. There will be plenty more, I assure you, as Lawrence gets himself another one as well in P8. Under pressure from Denko at the moment for that position. Robsu and Tia not too far behind. They're actually catching up, so these gaps starting to come closer together now, as we've got a penalty for our debutant, Rafael Physiotherapia, at the back in his Red Bull. Through Acca Minerale, and Ace is again too far behind to make a move on Gary this time. Scott with another penalty, meanwhile, on his Aston Martin. So that's 6 seconds for him. Let's have a quick look at penalties. No, oh, sorry. Excuse me. It's 3 seconds for Scott. I thought he already had one, but not this time. Not yet. So everyone you can see with a penalty has 3 seconds, except for Physiotherapia, who has 6. Hello to another Denko fan in the chat. Great to see you all. Hopefully Denko doesn't disconnect this week, as Aces on the inside of Gary is going to make that move, and Extract making a move on Sumo as well at the front. He gets up to P2, and the Norwegian driver who started this race all the way down in 8th place is now to 2nd after just 8 laps. And Sumo is going to have to work hard to stay with him, because Extract looks like he is on a rampage at the moment for race pace. He didn't get the lap together that he wanted, clearly, but his race pace is absolutely fine, and his overtakes are also absolutely fine. The moves he's been making to get up to that position, and Enchilada Dad is now going to feel rather vulnerable, even with a 2-second gap. Having Extract behind you in Tier 2 is always a daunting prospect, I would say, in this era of the division. Sumo really struggling to stay with Extract. Meanwhile, I don't know what is wrong with his pace. He just seems to have nothing through the final sector. As Jackalacko, look who it is in the top 4 now, getting past Triku. It's a great move from him as well. And Jacko now, our winner of Imola last time 2 seasons ago, for the season opener, now finds himself in the top 4 and staring down the barrel of Sumo, and Extract. Sumo getting past the Mercedes once again, back up to P2, but all this is helping Enchilada Dad, as if they battle a little bit more, that gap will only increase, so they've got to be careful just to swap places cordially and friendly. Oh, who's that in the background? That's Triku into the barrier. Oh, it's a disaster for Triku. He's reset to track there. He's going to get into a lot of trouble for that, if that was done in the menu, but he has crashed into the wall, and the Czech driver, who had an incredible outing last week in Monza, would have won the race if not for a pit lane speeding penalty. Now a critical mistake has given him front wing damage. It sent him all the way to the back. Lawrence losing positions as well. I think he must have had a mistake through Acqua Minerale. He's now under pressure from Scott as well on the outside of the chicane. Has to back out of that one, albeit with a bit of wheel banging, as now Extract again is going to look to make this move on Sumo for P2. He's right up behind this Haas driver. Sumo just doesn't have any pace through the final sector, and in fact peels into the pits for an early stop. So looking to undercut all the drivers behind him. Jackalacko now is going to be in a great position, if Extract stays out again, to retake that position with the DRS, because Extract isn't going to have it from Sumo in front anymore. Little mistake from the Scotsman though through turn 3. But he just about holds it together. Who's that? Another mistake. This time it's fan favourite. Denko is round in the gravel at turn 3. He gets it back facing in the right direction, but he's dropped all the way to 14th place. And they are starting to drop now, the drivers. We had some fantastic driving so far this race, but it's all starting to fall apart. There's, I think there was a bit of lag there. Aces might have teleported in front of those two just for a moment there. But they are beginning to drop like flies now, these drivers, as yeah, there's definitely lag going on. Look at the timings on the left hand side. I don't know what's going on there, but I assure you Enchilada is 2 seconds ahead, and not half a tenth behind Extract. But they head through the last couple of corners. Are we going to see a pit stop to respond to Sumo from the race leader? Yes, we are. Absolutely we are. Extract doesn't come in, he stays out, and Jackalacko now is going to have the DRS to take the lead of this race going into turn 1. Easy overtake for Jacko. Is Aces going to follow them through? No, he sticks behind. So Extract has led a lap now in this race, but Jackalacko now is into first place in this Imola Grand Prix, as we were sort of half expecting him to be at some point in this race. But remember, in the grand scheme of things, he's still quite some way behind. Enchilada Dad, meanwhile, out of the pits he comes. Where is Sumo? He's just down the road, as the Ferrari, you can see him just in the background there, is well ahead of Sumo. That undercut has not worked for the British driver at all how he would have wanted it to, and Enchilada is very comfortable now. He's down in P15, but he has got a lovely undercut on all the drivers behind him, so he'll be hoping to extend that already 2-second gap that he had. I don't know what is up with the board, Harris. I've no idea. But Extract continuing to race strong, even with that front wing damage. It's quite severe as well. Missing an end plate is no joke. So he is doing an excellent job. It is fairly easy, I would say, at this track on front wing damage. But even so, we saw how much other drivers have been plummeting down the grid when they've had damage like that in this race. So Extract doing a stellar job, and he's going to retake the lead here. Pulls to the outside line. Aces is going to try and follow the two-time champ through. Here they go down towards turn 1, and he does do so. So Extract leads now from Aces versus Kings in P2, and Jacko down to 3rd place. We've got a lot of pit stops going on. That's Lawrence and Kurt coming into the pits, as Enchiladadad making an overtake there on the Kicksauber of Avenir. He goes now up into 12th place. Rafael Fisioterapia, the newbie, is up next for the defending champion. As he heads through the first sector, he's going to catch up with this Red Bull very, very quickly, but he's got to be patient and find the right opportunity to make a move. He can't go for a kamikaze dive bomb, or can he? He goes to the inside of the hairpin. Fisioterapia leaves him the room. It's good, clean racing from the two of them, but Enchiladadad gets ahead. He's up into P11, and the defending champ, not messing around here, goes for a lovely send on the hairpin. Fisioterapia, to be fair to him, left him the room, and they both get away with it scot-free. Another penalty for Cleo at the back, meanwhile, as Extract now leading the way still from Aces versus Kings, but Jackalacco comes into the pits, and now Aces is surely going to take the lead of the Imola Grand Prix. He pulls to the inside. It's an easy move with the DRS, and Aces now into the front of the field. Extract down to 2nd place, and Gary 3.5 seconds behind now, really struggling after that very, very strong qualifying. We've got an Extract fan in the chat as well. He's saying, just don't DQ like Leclerc China, he says. As Jacko into the pits, Alex G getting a penalty. Enchiladadad well ahead of Jackalacco, and in fact Sumo well ahead of Jackalacco as well, but he's got traffic up ahead, which is going to cost him a huge amount of time. Avenir and Raphael fighting for position. They don't have to let Sumo through. They are not lapped drivers, so they are racing for position here. This is going to help out Jacko. It's also really going to help out Enchiladadad and anyone else fighting with Sumo. Sumo does not have the gall that Ench did to send it into the hairpin on Raphael. So he's going to have to wait for another opportunity, but he's being slowed down so much. Look at the gap to Jacko, just come tumbling down now for Sumo. He's really struggling here, but he'll be frustrated in that cockpit to be stuck behind this Red Bull, but there's no obligation for Raphael to let him through. Here comes Sumo, he's using the overtake, he's going for a move around the outside of the head, the chicane, gets it done. It's a lovely move from Sumo Gilligan as Extract comes into the pit lane. Scott also in with him. It's hard tyres for the Mercedes driver and a new front wing. He has replaced it. So we'll be looking to see how fast he's going to be. Alex G and Cavalis having a little battle of their own for P5 as it stands, but all of them yet to pit, of course, as Enchilada comes out well ahead. Look at this gap now for Enchiladadad. Sumo well ahead of Raphael. He's got the DRS, does the Red Bull, but he's not close enough. Jacko looking to follow through. It's Extract. Look at this. He's behind even JB after that front wing change. Scott also behind him, of course, but Extract all the way down behind Lawrence and JB now, and he has got a mountain of work to do. Honestly, the way he was running, I wouldn't have even replaced the front wing, as there's contact between Jackalacco and our newbie. I think they just locked wheels there as they went through the hairpin, and they both went into the grass, but it's cost Jacko a huge amount of time. Raphael Fisioterapia as well in his own race, being cost time there too on debut, sadly to see. But he is now down to P10, and he's got Lawrence and JB and Extract, crucially, breathing down his neck just behind. Gary and Robsu both head into the pit lane as Ace is staying out another lap on those hard tyres. How much time is he going to lose to the undercut? Same for Tier as well, and Alex G too, don't forget about him. Gary onto those hard tyres. The cursed pit stops, from says Breacher456 in the chat. Indeed, indeed they are, but Gary comes out just ahead of Robsu. There goes Sumo. Where is X-Trek? He's well behind them, but where are they going to come out the pits? There they are. There's Gary. So X-Trek at least ahead of Gary and Robsu, but he's just stuck behind JB for now. And I'll tell you one thing, JB is not going to let him through without a fight. X-Trek looking to the inside here on the exit of turn 3, but JB's not going to let that happen as Jacko gets himself a track limits penalty as well. X-Trek sends it to the inside of the hairpin. JB leaves the room, goes wide in anticipation, but X-Trek not able to commit to that one in the end. And JB keeping him behind for another corner. But Lawrence is using this as an opportunity to build a bit of a gap to the McLaren, as he's now over a second ahead. X-Trek now, though, with a lovely run out of Aqua Minerale. He looks to the inside, down towards the chicane. Is he going to send it? He is! He's absolutely committed, but he's just about backs out in time under the brakes and has to go wide on the exit as a result. JB now 1.7, 1.8 behind Lawrence. This is costing them both so much time, but X-Trek now is easily going to find his way through with the DRS. You have to wonder if all of that was worth it to go for those audacious moves, which didn't end up working, and now he's stuck behind, and even further behind than he would be. Lawrence setting the fastest lap meanwhile, as here comes X-Trek to the inside. It's going to be an easy move this time. Not enough to keep him behind. He could have used DRS to do it, but he decided enough was enough of X-Trek costing him time, and he's just going to sit behind him now. But does he have the race pace to keep up with him? I would guess not, from his performances earlier in the race. And X-Trek, of course, with a fresh front wing now as well. Sent you the Ivory Coast via Discord. I'll have a look at it later, Frank. Thank you, though, as Sumo now in clean air, 5 seconds behind his teammate, who has yet to stop in this race. Enchiladadad, well over 5.5 seconds ahead of Sumo at this stage in the race. He is very comfortable in that Ferrari right now. He's gotten ahead of the lapped car of BNI Cleo. So he's P3 on the road, but absolutely a net P1. Aces and Tier yet to stop, and this pit lane around this circuit is absolutely huge. It is so long. And, well, their pit window is actually nowhere near time yet, because we're only halfway through this race. It feels like we've done a lot more in this race than only half distance, but there's a long way to go in this one, as JB not content actually to just let X-Trek go. He gets back past him on the run to turn 1, and now the Mercedes driver is going to be vulnerable to Gary and Robsu behind the other McLaren. In the meantime, they head through turns 4 and 5, but X-Trek right up behind that McLaren. He looks to the outside line for a sweep around the outside of the hairpin, but JB having none of that. Lawrence is very happy to see this, as X-Trek now on the inside up the hill. Surely not from the two-time champ. He goes for it, he sends it. JB leaves in the room. X-Trek just about backs out in time. It's lovely racing from the two of them, but JB stands firm. This is a far cry from the timid driver who was happy to let people through 2 seasons ago. And now he is a different driver, perfectly willing and capable of keeping X-Trek behind. There's a bit of DRS games going on. X-Trek doesn't want to go ahead before the detection point. He hasn't done, but that's brought Gary closer. It's risky play from X-Trek. He could have easily found himself with a penalty for that if that was just a little more dangerous and they'd slow down a little more. But X-Trek is going to have the DRS. JB is going to lose out to both him and Gary, who looks to the inside. It's 4 wide down towards turn 1. Gary backs well out of that, and Robsu gets 3 cars in one straight. He was no timid driving from the McLaren driver. He loves his overtakes, Robsu. He's one of the best overtakers on the grid, and he has just proved it. What a move from Robsu. Gary backed absolutely hard out of that one, not willing to make it 4 wide, but Robsu, no such Uh, no such, well, I say cowardice, but honestly it was sensible of Gary to do that. Robsu, no fear at all, and he goes all the way through into P8 in this race as Aces finally comes into the pits. That's a long way he's going to have to go on the mediums. Here comes Extract to the inside of Robsu. Doesn't go for it this time at the chicane. He knows better opportunity is going to be with the DRS to turn 1. JB's just behind as well as Gary, so these four continue to be close together. Aces onto those new tyres, but where's he going to be? Ench, of course, well ahead. Sumo's going to be well ahead as well, but honestly, I think Aces has judged this perfectly. He's coming out the pit lane now. There is the Alpine on the left-hand side of your screen. He is going to be just behind his teammate, who I'm sure is going to let him through, but it's great. He's actually in a really good position here, Aces. On those fresh medium tyres, he's going to be so much faster than the cars ahead at this stage, and he is going to be charging after them. Sumo, meanwhile, has been caught and overtaken while we weren't watching by Jackalacko. I don't know when that happened, but Jacko up to P4 now. He does have that track limits penalty to his name, but he is, of course, going to be very happy with where he is. A penalty for Aces as well. Thank you to Rick for pointing that out in the chat. So he is also hampered by track limits in this race. Only 4 drivers without a track limits penalty now. That's our net race leader, Sumo, Extrarek, of course, and Triku Badayak. Extrarek always seems to avoid the track limits penalties, and it usually gains in positions. Robsu not using any ERS down there. He knew Extrarek didn't want to overtake. Tyr comes into the pits as Extrarek down the inside of Robsu. It's a great move from the Norwegian, you have to say, because now he's going to have DRS and he's going to be ahead on the run to turn 1. Robsu's going to fight as much as he can, but that DRS is surely going to be too much for him to handle. Or is it? He's using the overtake button. Extrarek getting a little bit overconfident with the ERS, and Robsu gets ahead with no DRS. It's brilliant from the Finnish driver. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And Extrarek relegated back to P8. He's going to be wondering what on earth has just happened. He's lagging all over the place as well, which isn't ideal. Next to the outside of the hairpin, but Extrarek is being shown the door by so many drivers today, not willing to let him through as they would have done in days past. And he is going to have to fight his way through tooth and nail today. He may not have a penalty, but he's losing so much time to the cars ahead. He's well over 3 seconds behind Lawrence at the moment. So we'll see how it goes. Is Imola the new Montreal, says Daka in the chat. Yes, because the track limits are weird around here. It does seem to be very loose with giving track limits penalties around this circuit this year. Hopefully that will be fixed with the rescan for next year's game, but yeah, that is the situation around here. Meanwhile, Robsu just ahead of Extrarek as Jackalacko makes it past Alex, lets his teammate through as well, does Alex. Still yet to pit, the only driver who hasn't stopped yet in this race. Enchilada now leads the way as Extrarek gets himself past Robsu. Robsu not done yet. He looks to the outside, looks to the inside to turn 1. Has to eventually yield, but that was very, very close indeed as Scott has joined the party, by the way. It's now a 5-car train for 7th place. As who was at the pitted? It was Tyr. He's come out in 12th place, some 3.5 seconds behind these guys, but he's not that far off at all. On those mediums with these guys battling, he might be able to close up and make it a 6-car train for that position, although Extrarek now is threatening to drop Robsu. He has got so much pace now on those tyres. In clean air does the Norwegian. He's not using ERS either through these corners, so Robsu, a little mistake through Aqua Minerale is going to cost him even more. 0.6 is the gap. Gary thinking briefly about ascending to the chicane, but sensibly deciding against it. And Robsu now 0.8 behind Extrarek. He's just about going to get the DRS, but not by much. And Extrarek in a good position now. Just remember, by the way, if you're watching, Aces and Tyr are on the mediums. Everyone else is on the hards. And Alex is yet to stop. Just remember that, because I'm going to switch to penalties on the side, because I think that's a lot more of an interesting thing to look at the moment. Robsu with the DRS, fastest lap from Extrarek, immediately beaten by Tyr just 3 seconds down the road, who is catching them at a rate of knots now in that Ferrari. But he does have 6 seconds of penalties. There's Gary and Robsu side by side. Gary looking for the inside of the Villeneuve chicane. Doesn't send it. Alex and Aces side by side as well. Alex trying to cost Aces time to help out his teammate, but he doesn't do it in the end. And again, Alex just completely sacrificing his own race to help Sumo here. He had potential in this race. I don't know why he's done this, but that is a retirement from BNI Cleo in the Red Bull. Meanwhile, so unfortunate for him, but Sumo is struggling to stay with Jackalacco. And if the Scottish driver can drop the championship leader here out of DRS range, then he's got a great chance, I reckon, of pulling that 3-second gap before the end. Enchilada 5 seconds in front now. And he is looking for a very comfortable victory in this race in the end, after a certainly not comfortable pole position, just by a few thousandths of a second. But 5 seconds in front now as Scott makes his way past Gary and is pushing Robsu through turns 1 and 2. Meanwhile, he can't quite make the move yet, and Gary's going to be back at him, but the Sauber driver sensibly backing out of that one. And now Scott is going to see Robsu in his sights next up. Extrek right behind Alex G, who's going to try and slow him down at any possible opportunity. They head up the hill. Extrek looking for a move up the inside. He goes for it up the inside, up the hill. Oh my goodness me, so close to disaster there, but they've gotten away with it. Alex trying to send it down the inside of Aqua Minerale, but he has to back out of that one. And Extrek, very, very brave from the two-time champ, but he's made it through. He's up to P6. It's going to be a net P5 after Lawrence's penalty, and could even be P4. So he's still looking for a possible podium here, Extrek. He's not that far behind Jackalacco, and we know how fast his race pace has been today in clear air. Meanwhile, Robsu is now going to get the DRS from Alex. Surely Alex goes into the pits. He's still staying out. Why? Why is he staying out this long? I don't get it. Alex, what are you doing? Robsu goes to the inside. An easy move for him, as Scott now is going to look to follow through on the inside. Look at that closing speed. He brakes far too late, though, and goes into the gravel. It's a big mistake from Scott. He loses 2 positions, and now JB and Tia looking to get through as well. Tia on those fresh medium tyres, remember, hits the back of JB momentarily, who goes wide at the next corner. But no harm done, I don't think, as they head through the hairpin. JB wide, Tia with the oversteer, but it doesn't matter. He's side by side up the hill. JB's going to let this one go, I think. Tia up the inside. He gets it done. It's a lovely move. He's a little wide on the exit, but I don't think JB's going to complain too much about that, I don't believe. Meanwhile, Extrek hunting down Lawrence, who is standing very firm in P5, but with those 6 seconds of penalties, of course, but he's still doing an excellent job out there in that Alpine. Meanwhile, Jacko has indeed dropped Sumo for DRS, and now Sumo is going to be under pressure from Aces as well, who's looking for a podium in this race. Sumo just seemingly not having the race pace around here. He was struggling the first stint as well. That's why the gap to Enchiladad just started increasing at the start. Sumo was leading the train and he didn't have the pace, as Alex loses another couple of positions and stays out for yet another lap for some goodness knows what reason. But there is the penalty. There is the crucial penalty for Sumo Gilligan now. And Aces is going to be racing him for position. Jacko is now safe in P2. He's actually catching Enchilada as well for the lead of this race. So this is not over yet. That 3-second penalty is going to make it very difficult for Jacko. But Aces now, with those fresh medium tyres, well, not fresh anymore, fresh-ish. They're going to be a lot less fresh at the last few laps, but he wants to take advantage of them while he can. And he's 7/10 behind Sumo. He's going to have the DRS. Sumo just has no pace at the moment in that Haas. Extra could be looking at P3 here after all is said and done. I think Jacko will be a step too far, but the way he's catching these drivers, I wouldn't bet against him for a podium despite everything today. As Aces now with the DRS looking to make the critical overtake to get himself onto the podium here in Imola. It ended in tragedy last week in Monza, but this week it's going a lot better for the Alpine driver. Up to third place he goes, past the championship leader. Sumo down to fourth, just really struggling for race pace around this circuit today. Scott meanwhile making a move on Gary on what looked like the run to the Villeneuve chicane. So he's up to P8. And Robsu just up ahead in P7. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong section of track. He did get past into turn 1, to excuse me. So Scott, at the normal place in track to overtake, gets up into 8th place. So this battle goes on between Sumo and Aces, but we've seen Sumo really struggling with the final sector on this circuit for pace today, and this is where he tends to lose a lot of time on the drivers around him. He has stayed in DRS range though, crucially, but these last two corners, he's so wide at the penultimate corner. That's 3/10 gone for Sumo just in one corner there. He will have the DRS, but he's so far behind, he's not going to be anywhere close enough to think about going for a move into turn 1, and I think Sumo here is watching his podium chances slip away perhaps, and he could be watching P4 even slip away, because X-Trek is just 4.3 seconds down the road. Tia meanwhile getting past Gary. Alex has still not come into the pit lane. I don't know what he's doing at this point. Like, it could be explained by him helping out Sumo earlier. Now I have no idea. But Lawrence gets himself another penalty, so he's up to 9 seconds now, as X-Trek hunts him down. So definitely doesn't need to overtake, but he's definitely going to anyway, and he's now 3.8 behind Sumo. Sumo desperately struggling for race pace. Aces is going to be hoping to keep X-Trek at bay in this race and not get another penalty, but the two-time champion, he just looks inevitable right now. I know Lawrence isn't going to let him through, but even so, if he gets the DRS in the right place, it's going to be a simple move for the Mercedes driver. He's got no ERS left though, so he is going to struggle on this occasion to get past, I should think, but his straight line speed has been pretty good so far this Grand Prix. 6/10, less than 6/10 behind as they head down towards turn 1 now. He's got the DRS, but he's got nothing left in the battery, and I think that is going to put paid to the overtake attempt. He's closing so fast, but it's just not fast enough. They reach turn 1 too early, and X-Trek has to stay behind, and now Lawrence is going to try and hold him up, because I think the Alpines will be sensing danger to their podium finish today if X-Trek gets past Lawrence too easily. There's an incident behind. Tia loses the rear, nearly takes out Gary. Scott has been taken out. He's through the gravel in turn 2 for the second time today. I'm not sure what happened there, whether it was another mistake from him or some contact, but he's all the way down 6.5 seconds behind in P11 now, as Gary just behind Tia, who does have those 9 seconds of penalties. X-Trek sticking behind Lawrence, but here he goes. X-Trek to the outside. Lawrence is going to let him go because he knows he'll get the DRS to turn 1 here. He has to get this chicane correctly. He doesn't. He loses the rear, and that is going to be very costly for his chances of re-overtaking on the run to turn 1. It's another penalty for Scott, meanwhile, further back. But Lawrence now needs to nail these last 2 corners. He hasn't really done. He's further back than he was before them. He's got the DRS. X-Trek's got nothing left in ERS, but I think Lawrence is too far back here, unless maybe, look at the closing speed. Is he going to be close enough? No, nowhere near towards turn 1, and that's an easy move for X-Trek. He's up to P5. I don't think Lawrence is going to have a response to him now, as Gary and Tia swap positions once again. Tia with 12 seconds of penalties now in that Ferrari, with X-Trek still ahead of Lawrence, now 2.3 behind Sumo. That's a Red Bull. That is Raphael in the background going off circuit. But X-Trek now just 3 3.6 seconds behind Aces. He looks inevitable. He looks inevitable for the podium right now unless Lawrence can slow him down. And that is even more inevitable. It's a second penalty for Aces. It's heartbreak for the Alpine driver. I think Xtrek is going to get away with this and get yet another podium. Lawrence just does not have the pace to Racca Minerale that the Norwegian does. And now, still with no penalties, he is going to storm to P3 in this race by the looks of things. Jacko way too far ahead for Xtrek to think about. Jacko has caught Ench by 2 seconds, by the way, in the last sort of 6-7 laps or so, but it's not going to be enough, especially with the penalty. Got an early retirement from Physiotherapia on debut, sadly. Both Red Bulls out of this race after a fairly woeful day for them, it has to be said. But Xtrek, Lawrence is still sticking with him, but he just loses so much time in that final sector. Xtrek, that is where Xtrek shines on this circuit, the final sector. Imagine Xtrek never got damaged, says Joshua in the chat. Yeah, absolutely, as his teammate Denko makes a move. Hurt, but his 6 seconds of penalties are going to drop into 15th. Triku all the way down to 15th at the moment, by the way. But I have no idea how he's going to shake out when the penalties are applied. I think he might even be able to get 11th here, Triku, after all is said and done. But JB are now up to 9 seconds in his McLaren. So that's actually quite big for his race, because he's only 2.8 behind Tier. And now 2.9, so Tier now is going to look to at least get ahead of JB in this race after those penalties were applied. It's 9 seconds for Cavalis now, as well as Sumo has been caught by Xtrek. The Norwegian driver is going to give it everything here, despite he knows he doesn't have to get past. He's got the penalties ahead. Aces has got 6 seconds as well. Xtrek looking inevitable for P3 today, but I think he is going to be disappointed with that after everything. It has been a great recovery drive, it has to be said, from the two-time champ. As they head through the Villeneuve chicane, Scott meanwhile getting past Cavalis for P11 into turn 1, an overtake from the Aston Martin driver whose race could have gone so much better today. I think it's fair to say Cavalis trying to scare him there into the Villeneuve chicane. I don't think seriously going for a move, as that is definitely putting paid to Sumo's chances of P4 in this race even, because another penalty for him now puts him firmly behind Aces in this race. Here comes Xtrek, sends it to the inside of the chicane, gets it done. Nothing Sumo can do. He's got nothing in the tank in this final sector. And Xtrek all the way up into the top 4. It's going to be 3rd place in the end. We're heading on to the final lap of this fascinating Imola Grand Prix in Tier 2. Enchiladadad has dominated from beginning to end. Jacko has hunted him down in this second stint, but he was just too far behind, really, to put Ench under any pressure. And, well, he may have won last time out in Imola, but I think he'll be mighty pleased with this drive should he come home with 2nd place. I'm sorry for the buzzing. I do apologise. I didn't know my phone was on the table. But meanwhile, Lawrence, oh no, on the final lap, Lawrence loses the rear of his Alpine, and he's dropped behind Robsu now. He's going to drop even behind Gary as well. We've got a penalty for Denko further back. Xtrek 2.3 behind Aces. He doesn't need to be any closer, though, as they head through the middle sector for the final time. Kurt with another penalty, 2 further behind. That could be quite important for his race as well when the penalties all shake out, because he's now behind Scott in this race. It was well held from Lawrence, says Rick in the chat. It absolutely was, as Cavalis around the outside of Scott up the hill. What a move that is from the Lithuanian, who made some great overtakes last week as well in Monza on the same driver too. But it's Enchiladadad who wins the Imola Grand Prix in emphatic style. Jack Alako comes home for P2. Aces gets 3rd across the line, but it's Xtrek after penalties. Sumo comes home for 5th place after starting from P2. He'll be disappointed with that, but he just didn't have the pace in the 3rd sector today. Robsu comes home a very strong P6, by the way, once all is said and done. Up 9 positions again from the start. Gary in P7, Lawrence in 8th, Tier 9th, JB in the top 10. Trikubadite gets everyone in front of him for P11. No penalties to his name. Very commendable indeed from him after his race turned on its head after that crash he had at the Villeneuve chicane. Cavalis and Kurt finish 16 thousandths of a second apart. Denko finishes down in 15th. Alex G comes across the line in the pit lane. Why not? For P16, and it's going to be Avenir coming home for that last position. In 17th place. No points for Avenir today. It's points for the top 15 in APPF1. So sadly for him, nothing for him on the day, but nonetheless, he got to the line, and that can't be said for two drivers today. So it's Enchilada Dad with a fantastic victory in Imola, with Jack Alaco just finishing behind him across the line, but 3.5 seconds behind after penalties. Extrek finishes on the podium with no penalties to his name. Enchilada, Extrek and Triku, by the way, no penalties to all three of them. Fantastic job from those guys. Aces in P4, Sumo in the top 5. Then it's Robsu, Gary, Lawrence. Tier with the fastest lap finishes in 9th place. Then it's JB in 10th, Triku in 11th, Scott P12, Cavalis and Kurt finishing just the width of a hair apart in 13th and 14th. Denko gets the final point of the day, with Alex G sacrificing his race for some reason to pit extremely late. And Avenir in P17, Rafael Physiotherapia and Cleo in the Red Bulls not able to finish. Don't go away, we'll have podium interviews with Enchilada and Jacko very, very shortly. Also, I'm sure we'll get a written summary from Extrek, as always, which I'll read out on stream. Being very congratulatory to each other in the chat, which is lovely to see in the Discord chat, I should say, in the paddock, as I like to call it. Let's get our top two in a party for some interviews. See if Ench and Jacko can join us. Jacko from 10th on the grid to P2. It could have been P1 if he had qualified higher, as Ench says in the paddock. But he didn't. And, you know, that's how important qualifying can be. Jacko has joined the party. We're just waiting for Ench. There he is. So, we'll get started with the interviews straight away, guys. Ench, what a bounce back that is. That is how to make a statement after a poor season opener. P1 and a dominant performance.
Yeah, I didn't really expect that, to be honest. Like, I think if I just happened to get away at the start, and that gap helped, and I basically just had to drive off into the distance for the rest of the race. And my main goal was just to not get a single penalty in case there's a safety car or something. So I managed to do that just about as well.
Yeah, indeed. Not a single penalty. Very, very impressive indeed. Same for Extrek and Triku, of course. But, yeah, I mean, you said you weren't expecting that. Were you expecting pole at all? Or, well, to fight for pole? Or were you, in the back of your mind, were you a little worried it was going to be another Monza?
When my first lap was kind of shit, and then on my second attempt, I put enough fuel to go again if I made a mistake, and I did. And then when that happened, I thought maybe I'm going to end up like 12th, 13th. But then it didn't even feel that good, but I got to pole with one, and then the next one I improved by a 10th. So yeah, but I feel like other people could have done a similar lap time, but it's just really hard to get the lap together in Imola.
Yeah, Scott was talking about how he did a 16.3. Or whichever it was.
Well, I wouldn't have beaten that
in practice.
14.3, I think.
14.3, yeah, sorry, 14.3 in practice, but he couldn't match it. obviously in qualifying, but it's the real session that counts, and sometimes it's hard to find that lap in the real session than it is in practice. But you found it by a few thousandths, and it ended up being crucial because what a start it was as well. You flew off the line and then just had the superior race pace to Sumo. So was it plain sailing throughout? Did you ever feel under pressure, or feel like, were there any little moments that you had, or was it a pretty zen race overall for you?
I had a bit of a slide in the second last corner on the last lap.
Oh gosh.
But apart from that, yeah. But and also, like, I was probably slightly going to run out of fuel, so I had to do a tiny bit of saving, but it wasn't too bad.
Oh yeah, I was wondering how Jacko caught up by a second.
He would have been catching me anyway. It was only doing like one corner per lap, probably, just to gain like 0.02.
Oh well. Nonetheless, though, Ench, a fantastic job. A professional drive, I think, is the word to use. To P1 today, and well, after the disaster last week, well and truly back in the fight to defend your title. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I'll move on to our second place finisher. He couldn't quite match what he did last time in Imola, but Jacko, P2 for you. You've got to be happy with that after the qualifying down in P10. Were you expecting to qualify that low, or was that a bit of a shock?
Yeah, I was obviously I want to be higher, but I kind of expected it because, as you know, quali isn't my forte, especially around a track where you're so on the edge with track limits. But then again, I looked at the times. I was even just a 10th would have got me like top 5, so I wasn't too bothered about it. I knew I had the race pace. Annoyingly, couldn't go 3 for 3 with Imola, but to get a second is the next best, so I can't complain.
Absolutely. Well, you know, that 3-second penalty, it didn't end up costing you in the end, but it could well have done if you qualified higher. Was it 3 warnings today, or were there any more?
5.
5 warnings. Okay.
So I was kind of like wanting to catch Ench just in case he did get 3 seconds, but at the same time I didn't want to get 6 seconds. Yeah. I don't think in the end it would have mattered to the cars behind, but you just never know.
Indeed, you don't. So congratulations again. You know, you kind of salvaged fifth. I think it was a top 5 finish last week, didn't you? After it was said and done, you kind of. It was kind of a George Russell way, so it was kind of does nothing P5. But today you absolutely did not do nothing. It was a stellar drive. And you're going to be quite far up in the standings too. I think X-Trek's going to be leading, but you won't be far behind.
I think I'll be second, I think.
Yeah, it's either X-Trek or Sumo. I'm not sure at this stage, but we'll find out later. But how do you feel about the rest of the calendar? Obviously, we've got Monaco in a couple of weeks' time. For those in the chat who don't know, Monaco, very famous street track with...
what is it?
Sorry?
What's Monaco? What's Monaco?
In 2 weeks' time, is it? Or am I... Yeah, in 2 weeks' time, yeah. Very, very famous street track. Very, very infamously difficult to drive. With the walls all around. So, but you know, in terms of the whole calendar, how are you feeling? Do you think that second star is a possibility, or is it too early to say right now?
I'm not going to rule it out. Portugal's probably a bit of a rubbish one for me. Silverstone's not amazing. Monaco, you just got to survive. But apart from that, it's alright. So let's just go race by race and see how it goes.
Indeed. Well, congratulations again on your podium today. Imola delivers for you once again. And best of luck.
Never. I don't want Imola to get removed from the real life calendar. Keep Imola forever.
Oh dear. Well, best of luck for next week when we will be heading to Austria, another very high octane track. You're going to get plenty of action next week as well. I do have a written summary from Xtrek. He says it was a very tough race. I had to change my front wing because I was losing a lot of time. You could have fooled me, Xtrek, honestly. It didn't look like he was losing a lot of time to me. But anyway, after replacing it, he says I got stuck behind a McLaren. He defended very hard and I couldn't do anything. That's JB he's talking about. When I finally got past him, a Haas appeared. So also defending strongly. I think that was Alex G he's talking about there. I did everything I could to finish on the podium. This is the best result I could achieve today. Congratulations to Enchilada today. He was unbeatable and this race was great. So humble words there from Xtrek as he finishes in third place. A very strong finish for him again. I think he's going to be 1 point behind Sumo actually once all is said and done. So Sumo should still be leading the standings, but it'll be Xtrek and then I believe Jacko afterwards. So still very close at the top. I'll update you on those standings next week. But for now, thank you everyone so much for watching. I will see you next time for more APP Tier 2, where we will be heading to an action-packed Austrian Grand Prix. Have a lovely rest of your week, everyone, and I'll see you then.